Now your son, he's 4 now. Did his birth change the way you looked at competition?
Oh, it changed everything, man. I became wild for a little bit. What's funny is we talked about my early childhood, but when I was 16, my parents divorced, and dad had some issues and stuff, and I don't want to get too much into it, but I ended up being homeless and on my own at 16.
Wow.
And I just became angry. I was just so upset, and I hated the world. I wanted it to burn, And for so long, I carried that with me. And that, I'm telling that, it put me in some tough spots, and that's part of what I was saying with just being courteous to people. It brightens the world rather than darkening it. I spent a lot of time walking around making the place darker.
Okay.
And I was a rough character for a long time.
People might find that hard to believe.
I'm very happy to say that. I'm happy that people feel that.
Okay.
Because I didn't like being that person, and I wasn't happy being that person. Okay. And it got me into a lot of trouble, and it just honestly kept putting me deeper in a hole. And as I got older, I was in college, and I'd finally started to find myself, and I came to grips with you have to accept that your parents are people. Like we always grow up and our parents are supposed to be this perfect image of what you're supposed to be, but then you realize like your dad's a man and your mom's a woman, and they make mistakes, and it doesn't mean that they're not like amazing people. It doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. I mean, all it means is we're all people trying to figure this out. Like nobody gave you a book and said, hey, this is how you're supposed to do this, and this is how you're supposed to do that, and this will be the perfect life for you. It doesn't happen. So I had to grow up, and I grew up, and I was like, I kind of came to this realization that I was only hindering myself, and being upset was only making me more upset. And so I finally let that go, and then a couple years later I ended up having my son, and man, that changes everything. Like I just want to spend every minute I can playing with him, wrestling with him, and showing him the world and everything, and I'm so lucky that because of what I do, I get a lot of time with him. I get to spend all day, every day with him, hanging out. And I spent 3 days just last week, every day at the lake, where I have a giant man-sized kayak, and I'll row out to the middle of the lake, and he'll jump off of it and swim back. And we just did that all day long. All day long we'd paddle out, and he'd swim back, and and that kind of stuff. That's the most satisfied I've ever been in my entire life. Just watching him smile, So kind of went all over the place there, but it took me a minute to realize, the way my mom was to me was the way I need to be to the world. And right. That's also a reflection on who I am as a father now.
Right. But you used to use that darkness when you used to lift and stuff like that for a while? Yeah,
I used it for everything. Okay. I used it for football. I used it for lifting. I used that just in life, It even makes the wrong women like you. It makes the wrong friends want to hang out with you. It got me into bad situations, and I was doing bad stuff, man. There were points in my life where it was really dark, and that's all brought on by my characteristics, by who I was being. Right. Because as soon as I changed, all of a sudden those people weren't around. All of a sudden it was brighter, and things were happier, and people were smiling, and I just felt better.
Wow. And now you think about your son when it comes to winning things and him watching you. Yeah. So that makes you push it now.
Most definitely. And I push hard because, the same way we looked at Thomas Topham and Peter Francisco and all these characters in our TV show, he's going to look at me that way. And anyone else can see me however they want. I really like that's up to them. And of course I hope that they would see me in a good light. But like if they don't, then that's your choice, and that's totally fine. For him, I would do anything for him to just see me as a good guy.
So that's important.
Yeah, very much.
It's a good motivation, right?
Yeah, definitely.